All right, we are back here for part two of the Pulse with Willie and Al. Going to give you guys a fun little segment here with some NFL coverage. We'll go through our whole NFL segment, and then we'll dip in a little bit to Major League Baseball, and then provide you a little fantasy football takes over after this. So we'll jump right into the NFL here, and basically, I don't know if anyone knows this, but we're going to have football every single weekend until the middle of February. So my pants are tight right now. I don't know about yours, but it's I've waited a long time for this, man. Like literally since the Super Bowl ended, I closed my laptop after watching it and said, "Oh no, it is going to be months without this now." So I'm very excited that it's back.
Yeah, you usually get the draft in April, which is kind of nice. March is free agency, which kind of gives you a couple days. Yeah, the draft in April, which is nice. And then, it's a slog until you get to training camp, man.
Right. It's talking a bunch of fantasy stuff about stuff that no one cares about. Predictions of guys that are going to change or get released by their teams or where they are on the depth chart or guys that get injured or, whatever. So at least this year it was a little interesting during the summer and stuff. But, I think we should probably jump right into the predictions here. We'll break this down and stuff, but for MVP this year, I think it's going to be Joe Burrow. And for a few reasons and stuff. First of all, I don't want to bet against him. I feel like he's very Tom Brady-esque. Every time I bet against Brady, he ends up winning another Super Bowl. And listen, I learned my lesson through 20 years of tenure in New England there. You just don't bet against Brady, even if you're a Colts fan. But with Joe Burrow, I just think, I know he had that injury, the calf injury and stuff, and he's still kind of nursing his way back from that. But I think they are just primed for a ridiculous season. You look at some of the stuff that changed for him. You've got another season with Chase, obviously, to mature. And him and Chase have just had great rapport going back to when they were playing at LSU together. But you look at who they brought in to protect him, because that's basically been the thing the last few years, right? Ever since they went to the Super Bowl, it's like, you got to protect Joe Burrow, got to figure out a way to do it. So they bring in Orlando Brown. I think he's going to be an absolute stalwart for him on the left side there. And I think he's able to complete a lot more passes and extend a lot more drives by Orlando Brown keeping guys off of him. So,
which is funny because I think Joe Burrow too is going to have to do more this year because frankly Mixon is getting older.
Yeah,
and Last year, he wasn't blowing by guys the same way.
No, he had that one game where he had 5 touchdowns in it and stuff. Yeah. But other than that, he just wasn't really doing well. So,
and Mixon had the off-season stuff, and it's kind of always been his shtick. Like he's kind of a guy that's always has stuff off the field that is always kind of in the news.
Right.
And I think that they're not going to get as much production out of Mixon, and I think you're going to learn a lot about Burrow, and if he's going to have to really throw for some yards this year to keep Cincinnati in it, because frankly the division they play in is going to be tough.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you're right with that, and I want to see them do well. I have them going to the Super Bowl as well. You can't have him have an MVP season without having that happen, right?
Yeah.
But I just think it's going to be a grinder going through those playoffs, and unless they check a lot of boxes during the regular season, it's going to be tough to ensure that. And I think he's able to do that, right? I think, he's going to have a great season. But who do you have for the MVP this year?
I actually think it's going to be Jalen Hurts this year. We're going to talk about this when we get to division picks and Super Bowl picks. I know there's a big Super Bowl hangover every year for the team that loses the Super Bowl. Their schedule this year, though, is primed for them. There's a world where they start out the gates 8, 9, or 9-0.
Yeah.
And their schedule's pretty cake this year.
Yeah.
And I think that having Devonta Smith, having AJ Brown, I just think that team, he led that team last year. And I wasn't a believer of him last year. I thought it was, after what I had watched the year before, I thought I was he's all right in this league, but he's going to be middle of the road quarterback at best. Yeah. And what I watched last year made me a believer in him. guy can take off with his legs. He can sling it. I mean, it helps that he has two great receivers.
The guy's been a winner too at every
Yeah.
level, right? Like he just gets it done, and like he's a born leader. Like you see the way
And that offensive line is
Yeah.
really good too.
It's one of the
Yeah.
best in football, man. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing, arguably the best, right? Like they just with Kelsey come in, and as soon as Jason Kelsey said he's coming back, you're like, man, they got another shot, right? They've got
Yeah.
the University of Georgia on defense at Philadelphia, right? Like they're just loading guys in. I think it was Darius Slay referred to Jalen Carter as baby
As a
rhino.
rhino.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
dude, that's not
Yep.
the guy you want to mess with, right? And I'm just watching Jalen Carter drive guys back 5 yards right off the ball, and you're like, yo, this guy's NFL ready. Like he's a man. He really is.
Well, before the off the field stuff in January, like he was projected to be the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that the Eagles got him at 10 is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, it's dynamite that he was able to fall that far.
But I think it's gonna be Hurts. I think that he's
Okay.
going to. I think he's going to really. I think it's going to be like a 45. I think he's going to throw for 5,000 this year.
Wow.
You can tell. I think so.
Okay.
Because he just has the weapons.
Yep.
And he has the time. He has the offensive line to protect him, and he's got Sirianni and one of the better coaches in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I know he lost his offensive coordinator, but I don't think that's going to be. I think he's going to miss that. But like, I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
I really do.
And this is the thing, if they can get a full healthy year out of Dallas Goedert as well, and even a sustainable running game, man, they could be very, very good this year. So, and I think, my opinion, I think it's an easier path in the NFC than it is the AFC this year.
Absolutely.
I don't even think that's a hot take, right? Like, anyone looking at it that's saying it's tougher in the NFC, like, please go get yourself checked, right? Like, it definitely, it's tough. So, anyhow, so moving on here, like I have for Offensive Player of the Year, you know, if I've got Joe Burrow being MVP, it kind of makes sense. I'm going with Jamar Chase from Cincinnati. And I think he's going to have just an incredible year. I really do. I see him having a like Devontae Adams-esque type season where he could go for 20 touchdowns and not even seem like he's working. And that's a lot. I mean, this guy, every time he touches the ball, there's a chance for him to take it to the house. And I don't know anyone watching football nowadays that doesn't love seeing him score a touchdown and hit the gritty. Like that just for me, that just
never gets old.
Yeah, it makes Sundays great for me. So you know, I really would like to see that. I think he's primed for an absolute great year. I know he got hurt, a little banged up last year, but he did things the right way, right? You get hurt, especially middle season, and he just said, "Listen, guys, you get it done without me, and I'll come back when I'm fully healthy." You know, and so when he came back, they were primed, ready to go. Look at him; they end up in the AFC Championship game, and they lose on a play, right? Like if who was it? Perfect doesn't hit that guy out of bounds. Like Kansas City's not in range to be able to kick that field goal. So it just, you know, I look at things like that. It just, and you can pick at certain plays. Like they play the whole game for a reason, right? It's not one play at the end or one play at the beginning that resolves it. It's, you know, a lot of plays in between as well. So, but who are you going for Offensive Player of the Year?
I think it's going to be a repeat winner this year. I think it's going to be Justin Jefferson again because, hear me out, they got Jordan Addison in the draft, and I'm telling you that is going to be. I think that's going to be the steal of the draft.
It's so funny
I think they're going to plug him in, and I think that he's going to command enough attention. Like, I think that Jefferson's going to put up just. I don't think he's going to put up stats like he did last year.
Right.
I don't think that's possible.
Yeah.
I think the league has clued in onto him, and I think, but he's so good.
He is.
And I think with Jordan Addison, like, man, I'm telling you, it's gonna be a repeat performance.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I soured
Which is
on
not
him.
because he has Kirk Cousins throwing to him.
Yeah, he does. It's, man, and I don't know. I really developed a stronger liking for Kirk Cousins after watching quarterback. Like, I really do like him, man. Like, it's tough. Like, and I should have never watched that because then you develop like an emotional attachment to these guys, right? Like Jefferson, I had him in fantasy last year. I had him and Tyreek Hill on the same team. I was very lucky, but Jefferson crushed it. And then all of a sudden, he plays Green Bay and is like, "Oh yeah, let me drop a dud," you know. And that was super sad to see. But the guy was unstoppable the rest of the year, and I think that stuff is in his mind every time he steps on the field. there's no question as well. Like he
Yeah.
thinks he is the best player on the field every time he steps out there, and I think it's a great pick for offensive player of the year. So,
Yeah.
um,
It's funny too because that award is essentially who is the best wide receiver in the league most of the years.
yeah, like unless there's a running back that has like a outrageous season, like a
Right.
LaDainian Tomlinson season where he's scoring 30 touchdowns, like it's so
Yeah.
difficult for them, like especially the way the game is nowadays, right? Like you look at
Yeah.
when we were growing up and watching football, there was one stud receiver on the team. That was it. And the rest of the guys, it was about 10 feet of shit, and then the rest of the guys on the team. Now
Yeah.
you've got superior athletes on the field at the wide receiver 2, some of them at the wide receiver 3 position, right? And some of them have expert, supreme athlete tight ends playing too. Like it's
Well, you think about Cincinnati, like T. Higgins is a number one receiver on any other team in the
yeah.
league.
Same way I
Any
feel
other
about,
team in the league.
yeah, I feel the same way about like a guy like Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, like those guys. To
Yeah.
me, like they could be number ones wherever they go, right?
Absolutely.
So it's interesting for that, but I gotta
Yeah.
we'll move forward here into defensive player of the year. Now there's a lot of people that could go back and forth on this. There's a few guys that are really good, but I'm picking Micah Parsons. Now he he's that X factor, right? When he's in the game, if you do not know where he is on every single play, he's going to eat you up. He is
Yeah.
a game wrecker for people. Like it just he's not always going to win the game for someone, but he will definitely ruin the game for the other team. Right? Like
Yeah.
there's a good chance of that, and all he needs is a crease. He reminds me, and I know this is a weird comparison, but he reminds me of a younger Von Miller. Like Von Miller
Oh, yeah.
at his prime, but at Micah Parsons' age, which he's still super young. What is he, like 24 right now? Like, and the dude is
Yeah,
just
he's
dominant
super
in the
young.
league. Like I really think he stands a great chance, and I think if Dallas is going to do well this year, it's going to be partly because of him. Like even if you look at the success they
Yeah.
had last year, it wasn't because their offense was unbelievable. It's because their defense was really, really good. And not only can he wreak havoc up front, but you got Trayvon Diggs on the backside to be able to clean up the mess too. With all the
Oh, yeah.
interceptions, it was 6 weeks into the season, he had more touchdowns than wide receivers in the league. It was crazy. So
Oh yeah, it's
I
insane.
think Micah Parsons is a good shot this year to be able to get Defensive Player of the Year. But who are you thinking on your end?
Until he decided to hold out, I thought it was going to be Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
Because Nick Bosa is the definition of that 49ers defense.
Yeah.
But I don't what worries me is he hasn't been at camp. And I just he's going to have to play himself into shape.
Right.
And that history shows that that never bodes well.
It doesn't.
No.
I know they're saying, and they've even come out and said oh yeah, he's a guy that doesn't need rest. He can just show up. But the NFL really isn't a league where you can just show up. If there is a guy that can do it, it's Nick Bosa. But
Sure. Yeah.
most guys, when they've had camp holdouts and stuff like that, they've come in and it's taken a little bit for them, right?
And they just have a down year overall.
Yeah, I hope that's not the way things start. They're playing Pittsburgh week 1, so I don't know if you can really afford as San Fran to get off to a slow start, but we'll see. It's still a very solid pick for that.
Yeah, but I actually, because he's holding out, I think this is the one where I'm going to agree with you on. I think it's Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
I do.
I could see people making the argument about TJ Watt and stuff, but he's
The
just
guy's got to stay healthy.
Yeah, he's had a little bit of
That
trouble
curse.
staying healthy, right? So,
Yep.
that's a tough thing. But all right, so moving on here, offensive rookie of the year. Who do you have for that?
This is tough. I'm going to say a thing. I know that he catches a lot of shit for being as small as he is, but I think Bryce Young is going to put up numbers this year.
Really?
I think that he is.
Okay.
I know that he doesn't have a ton of people to throw to. I just what I watched him run a pro style offense in Alabama. He got coached by the best college coach of all time.
Yep.
You have to be intelligent to play quarterback for Alabama. You do.
Right.
Like that's a real pro offense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I watched enough in preseason. I think he's going to be okay. I know the height concerns some people. I think he's going to be okay.
Right.
I don't think Carolina's going to be very good, for the record.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to I think he's going to put up a lot of stats, and I think that he's going to use his legs.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a very solid pick. You know, you don't go the top pick in the draft, right? Like he was drafted number 1 overall. Like it just, you don't see them putting that kind of emphasis on him unless you are sure about him. And I really think, like, from his college career, like, I really think he'd be a natural transition into the NFL. We've seen guys that are smaller size still have success. Guys like Russell Wilson, that's a tough one to say, but Drew Brees, like, they've come into the league and they've done very well, right? So I don't see any path of, I'm not going to say it's the path of least resistance, but I definitely think there's a path for him to be successful. So,
what was wild to me too, real quick, about leading up to the draft was that there was a debate that Bryce Young wasn't going to go number 1.
Yeah,
that was insane to me.
Okay,
like CJ Stroud, great player. Anthony Richardson, really high upside, but like, come on, like we all knew it was gonna, like,
It is interesting when they start to have those arguments, and I wonder if some of those are just kind of like planted stories to like get hype around guys and stuff, because they, you know, it sells more magazines, people read more articles when that happens. So it's like, and they talk about it, right? So you get the guys on ESPN chatting about it, and you know, now we're even talking about it. They're making money off that. So it's crazy, but now, for me, I went a little bit of a different route with Offensive Rookie of the Year, and this is strictly, you know, just looking at it, I like the opportunity, I like the talent, and I think talent and opportunity gives him a chance to have a really good shot at winning this award this year. I went Jordan Addison, and I just
can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, I like where he went, and he's in an offense where there is no one that's an easy out, right? There's no easy, we take this guy away, the rest of this offense falls apart. Madison, he's stepping into that Cook role. Now, is he going to hold up a full season? We don't know with a full workload and stuff. But, like, the times that he has filled in for Cook, he's done very well, and he's been very serviceable. You know, they just signed a massive contract with T.J. Hawkinson. You know, I think it's the most lucrative tight end deal ever. And you look at that, like, they're going to use him a lot. He's going to be very effective there. And then you've also got, you know, the best player in the league at wide receiver, you know, over on the other side. So when they're taking half of the field, maybe more than that, away from Jordan Addison, he's never going to have a game where he's going to be covered by the number 1 guy, unless you have some of those corners that like to not change sides and stuff. But, like, most of the time, he's never going to be covered by the number 1 guy. He's an excellent route runner. He's got great hands. His route tree is ridiculous, and he's done he's done it at 2 different schools in college too, Penn State and USC. So you look at the way he walked into a perfect situation, and I honestly thought Jackson Smith and Jigba was going to go there, but I was very happy to see Addison go there, and I think he's going to be have a really good chance to bring home that award at the end of the season.
Well, I think too, it's a really good choice with Addison because he's going to see a lot of single coverage.
Yeah,
he is. Yeah. Like if unless defensive coordinators have just gotten stupid, which there are a fair amount of them in the league, like you don't single cover Justin Jefferson. You don't. Like that's you were just asking him to take it to the house time and time again.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to see a lot of double coverage. I think, and because of that, I think Addison's going to see a lot of single coverage, and I think he's going to really excel at that. And you're right. He's a really good route runner. Like, you've watched it in college, and I think if you're a good route runner in college, that translates well in the NFL.
He's got very quick feet, man. Like, I see him shaking a lot of people and really getting it done. And, like, he's a good possession receiver, too. I think he's got the chance to kind of do it all there. And
absolutely.
And where would you rather go to learn? Right? Like, it's you're learning from one of the best, right? And, like, Jefferson seems like that guy who's had a few years in the league. Now he's going to bring Addison along. Like, you're literally watching a future Hall of Famer every single day do it. So it's really, really good. So,
and he has a deep, like, say what you want about Kirk Cousins, like, he has a competent quarterback thrown to him, which helps.
Yeah,
it's not like he's stepping into a situation with a bad quarterback.
Yeah, I feel bad. I didn't mention that. Yeah, I definitely do feel that way about Kirk. Like, and he's a smarter quarterback with the football than he has been in the past, right? I don't think he's going to be able to get away with some of the throws he was making to Jefferson, to Addison, but I definitely think Addison's going to have a great year under him. So, who do you have for defensive rookie of the year?
So when you sent me your notes, the Patriots fan in me really wanted to say Christian Gonzalez because I saw that you said that, but I changed New England's schedule is tough this year. Yeah. It's not great. Mm-hmm. I really think it's an easy pick. I think it's Jalen Carter.
Yeah, okay. We both agree on it and stuff. I was looking at it again, and this is the thing. When I had picked it initially, we hadn't had kind of the training camp reports, the preseason games on Jalen Carter. Like, once I started seeing that, like, this guy's a freak, man. He is an absolute freak. And watching him play football is going to be something that's very beautiful. Now, I know you had mentioned there were the concerns in the draft about him, him falling to Philly and stuff, and like they had all the concerns of the off-the-field issues and stuff. But I think him going to Philadelphia in that locker room with those veterans, with guys that he knows like Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean, like those are people he's played with, right? They understand him, they know him, and I really think that they're going to have a ridiculous defense this year.
I think so too.
I think it could be very scary for people that play Philadelphia. And the absolute worst thing you can do is give Philly back the ball, like put the ball back in Jalen Hurts' hands, right? Like, it's that you don't want that to happen. So I think Jalen Carter is going to be great this year. I see him, definitely getting double-digit sacks. But I also, in addition to that, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I see him with like 4 or 5 forced fumbles. Too.
Oh yeah.
Like, this dude is aggressive, and when he goes to the football, he goes through the football. He's not He's not just hitting to tackle you and bring you down. He's looking to go through you. So I really think that's going to be a great pick this year.
And I think too with him too, what I appreciate and what I think is going to happen is I think Philly's going to be up big in a lot of games. Mm-hmm. And that means like the other team's going to have to really start chucking the ball. And I think that's where he is going to clean up.
Yeah, pin your ears back and run, man. And he is going to terrorize some quarterbacks. I feel bad Sam Howell's welcome to the NFL moment with Jalen Carter.
I'm drawing a blank. Who was the kid they drafted? They drafted a corner out of Georgia too with their second first round pick.
You know what? I can't think of it off the that you just said. Man. They also ended up getting another linebacker from Georgia this year, I believe, as well. So they
Philly Bulldogs.
Yeah, Philly I know, Bulldogs. Right? That's exactly what it comes to be. So all right. So just moving on a little bit here. We'll go through some of the and I think both of us, I skipped over this, but I really do know from talking to you, we both agree, comeback player of the year, it's got to be DeMar Hamlin, right? Like,
if it's not, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I don't even think like he has to start because he's not starting right now. I just think he needs to play a little bit. But I just hope on a personal level that he doesn't ever have to go through something like that, him and his family, ever again. And I hope that, the Buffalo Bills training staff, like I hope they are never put in that position again. And the players that were there too, not only the Bills but the Bengals as well, they're forever changed after going through something like that. I think all of us were. Like I was very moving watching his awarded win at the ESPYs and stuff. Like it's an emotional piece of the game, and they know it can happen, but seeing it actually happen is really tough sometimes. So I just hope that's something that no one ever has to go through again.
Yeah, you and I agree. I think he's the unanimous comeback player of the year. The fact that he's already in training camp practicing after dying on the field, like I like what else do you want? Like it's got to be him. Yeah. It's got to be him. I'm sorry.
I definitely think it's going to be. So All right. Well,
Yeah.
listen, well, really good on that. We'll move on to some of our division winners, kind of who we think is going to come through the playoffs for, our top 7 teams that we have.
Mhm.
I'll run through these real quick just so that, I can list mine and then we'll talk about it, or we can have you list yours and we'll talk about it after. So, my picks that I have from the AFC, I have Cincinnati, the Chargers, Jacksonville, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and the Jets. And I just think that it is a completely stacked division. Completely stacked conference in the AFC. Very QB super friendly, right? Like it's all of these quarterbacks that are great quarterbacks. A lot of them are in the AFC, and I don't want to put down teams in the NFC, but there's a lot of great quarterbacks that exist on these teams in the AFC, and you kind of need that to be able to get through this gauntlet, right? Like you need a guy that's a proven winner. So I have Cincinnati coming out of the AFC, but who are your teams? Who do you have coming through?
So for the AFC, I think that it is. I hate to say this. God, I hate saying this. Being a Patriots fan, I think you're going to get two. I think you're actually going to get 3 teams out of the AFCs this year. So I think the Dolphins and Jets are going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Bills are going to make it.
Yep.
I'm going to say a thing. I think there's going to be 2 teams that. Boy, that's tough. I think there are going to be 2 teams that come out of the AFC North.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Wow. Okay.
I just have this feeling with Cleveland that I think you're going to. Watson had a full training camp and a full year to play, and I think Cleveland's going to be good because you're just going to give Nick Chubb the ball a ton. He's going to kill you for 100, 120 yards a game, and then I think Cincinnati is who they are. I think you're going to get 1 team from the South. I think you're going to get Jacksonville because the rest of that division is garbage.
Yep.
And then I think you're going to get the Chiefs.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's a definitely like the Chiefs are, and that's one of the things I kind of noticed, and I don't know if you saw that, but I had the Chiefs not making the playoffs.
Yeah, I want to talk about that for a minute because I just have questions about that.
Yeah, let's unpack that a little bit. So, like, I definitely think Cincinnati's going to be the top team, and coming out of the AFC. My big thing with Kansas City, and I think the Chris Jones holdout has a real chance of not getting resolved, and he is adamant that he will stay out till week 8. And if that happens, Kansas City it's going to be really tough. Now, Stephen A can sit up there and say, Patrick Mahomes this, Patrick Mahomes that, but like, it's very difficult in this league to just guarantee that you can score all the time and give up points all the time too. Like it's
unless you're Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's very difficult to win games that way though. And Chris Jones isn't just he's the Aaron Donald of that team, right? Like so you need him in the middle. He's that one guy that you're like, yo, go get the quarterback this down, and he goes and gets him, right? So it's a big piece. Their other defensive tackle is out 6 weeks. That's not good for them. So he's suspended. So I think Kansas City takes a step back this year, right? And like, I don't want to say that, but I think the Chargers are primed for a good playoff run. I know they've got fire in their bellies after the way last year ended. Staley's probably wondering like, oh wait, I didn't get fired? Like how didn't that happen?
Which is insane. He should have been. I'm sorry.
But this is something I just want to point out that I feel like a lot of people don't really talk about when they talk about the Chargers. They mention a lot about, Keenan Allen getting hurt, Mike Williams getting hurt, even Justin Herbert with the bruised ribs playing injured last year. What they didn't really discuss was in week 3, he lost his starting left tackle. And like that's a big deal. Rashawn Slater, I think his name is. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Rashawn? Okay. Anyhow, Slater.
I'm the worst person to pronounce names.
Yeah,
so
I feel so bad that I did that, but that's okay, right? Like sometimes it's going to happen. So with him, like I've liked him ever since he came, ever since he was drafted by the Chargers. I was really pissed because I wanted him on other teams that I liked and stuff. But he's been an absolute stud at left tackle. And when you lose a guy like him, it's not like, okay, well, it's business as usual. There's something psychological that happens when you lose a guy like that, right? And I wonder if that happened with Justin Herbert, where he's like, man, I no longer feel safe on my backside with, the defenders. It's just a tough scenario for them. So I think this year with him back healthy, I think they have a great chance. They added Quentin Johnston this year in the first round of the draft. I really think he's going to be able to stretch the field for them. And I see Justin Herbert as being a possible MVP candidate.
Sure.
If he plays up to his level and stuff, you've got Austin Eckler back there too. Like they've got a very talented roster from top to bottom on offense and defense in there. I think they've got a good chance to be able to come out of that division.
So remember what I said in episode 1 about teams having really tough losses and not coming back from those?
Yeah.
I think that's going to haunt the Chargers this year.
Okay. Yeah.
I really do. And I don't love Staley as a coach. I think that he just makes really poor choices. Like last year in week 18, like starting your starters when you don't have anything to play for. And then they got hurt. Like,
dude, and it pisses me off too, because like Justin Herbert, I know, like, so people have seen him play at a very high level, right? Like I watched him when he was at Oregon. He was awesome to watch, dude. Like, they had talked about this guy going to the NFL years before he even went into the draft and stuff. Like I loved watching him, and to see, like, it feels like his window is being wasted. And I don't want to see that. I want to see – I think another piece is Kellen Moore being there this year, right? Like the new offensive coordinator, I really think like Kellen Moore's got a history of getting production out of quarterbacks. I think he's going to get the most out of Justin Herbert, and I hope Staley just lets him be, because that offense could be really, really fun to watch if he lets Kellen Moore just do his thing.
I don't have the Chargers in the playoffs for a couple of reasons. I think that playoff loss last year to Jacksonville, I think that's going to be some weird carryover with that.
Right.
Also, Michael Williams and Keenan Allen, like, they don't stay healthy.
Yeah.
They just don't. Like, I'm sorry, like, especially with Williams, there's enough history. The guy gets hurt every year.
I know, and he's such a big-bodied, good receiver, but dude, the guy just can't. Like, when he's healthy, he scores 2 touchdowns a game. Like, it's.
Also, like with the Chiefs, I'm just going to say this. I think because this was Tom Brady for 20 years. Tom Brady was good for 12 wins a year.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, that combination is good for 12 wins a year.
Yeah, especially with Kelsey still there. Like, it's, it may be something I change if Chris Jones ends up coming out, but like those were my picks at the beginning. I'm going to keep them, and we'll go from there.
The one thing that worries me with the Chiefs, though, I don't think it's a huge concern. I mean, they won the Super Bowl last year, thrown to essentially Kelsey and a kind of a bunch of nobodies. Like Sky Moore.
Well, now you've got one of those nobodies on your team, and they said his knee could blow out at any point. That's what I'm
waiting for that. I have the over/under being week 3 before that happens, so I'm ready.
Man.
I am ready. But yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to be okay. I worry that they don't have a lot of guys to throw to, but that my counter argument to that, to my own argument, is just that they didn't have a lot of guys to throw to last year, and they won the Super Bowl.
Right. Now, I just wanted to ask you, because you had mentioned before about it too. Like, I noticed you didn't have Baltimore and you didn't have Pittsburgh coming out of the NFC. The AFC North. So I'd like the pick of Cleveland, and I like the reasoning that you gave behind it. Do you think that Pittsburgh is still a little ways away? Is that?
I think Pittsburgh is going to be. I'll start with Baltimore first.
Okay.
I think Humphreys is already hurt.
Yep.
I don't love that. He's the heart and soul of that defense. And I know people are making a big deal about OBJ and Lamar, that chemistry they have, but like, OBJ hasn't played a football game in almost 2 seasons.
The last time he was great, right? Like, great.
Was that Super Bowl?
Well, okay, so he was good. He was probably great in that Super Bowl. He was great. I hate to admit that. But, like, the last great season that he had, we're looking at back in 2016. That's like 7 years ago. That's a long time of not being great for him to just walk in. They gave him $15 million. Like, they paid him a lot. Rashad Bateman and OBJ, I don't think between them they have two good sets of legs. Right? Like, it's just, it worries me there big time. J.K. Dobbins, like, and I love, we were talking about holdouts in the first episode. This dude never should have been trying to hold out and ask for a new contract. And it's like, dude, these other guys that are asking for him, Jacobs, Barkley, Taylor, you aren't in that level. Not yet.
Yeah.
You need a few more seasons of good production before that's going to happen. So, oh, man.
I will say this, though, having Justin Tucker, and I don't say this a lot about kickers.
Yeah.
Justin Tucker will get them two wins this year. By
wins,
himself,
okay.
he'll get 2 wins.
Yeah, I mean,
so
the dude can kick an 80-yard field goal, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's,
yeah. I think that he's going to be, like, I think he's going to help that team, but I think Baltimore, they don't have enough on offense that I'm like, and also Lamar hasn't played a full season in a long time either.
Right. Yeah, he's an injury concern as well. You know, I like Mark Andrews there, but it's tough. And if Lamar is healthy, put the league on notice, man, because it could be very dangerous. So, and he's got weapons where he doesn't need to run, right? Like, he got his bag now. Now he can sit back there and pass all day if he needs to, right? Like, I don't know. We'll see. But I meant to bring up the last piece of it. You had mentioned Jacksonville and stuff, and I really like them as well. I like what Doug Marone's done there. I like the chemistry between Trevor Lawrence and, you've got Ridley there now too, who I think is going to be an absolute stud this year.
Yeah.
I think people forget, like, oh yeah, this guy was very good in Atlanta. Yeah, he got suspended for betting. It's not like he got injured or anything like that. He basically had to step away because he was betting on football. And now he's back, and now he's in a good situation there, and Trevor Lawrence is coming into his own. And I think there's something to be said for letting a team gain that confidence. Just like we had discussed it before about the Patriots and stuff, when they were in that Rams Super Bowl, the first one, and they won. It gave them the confidence to go back and be like, no, we can contend now. We can get back there. So very, very interesting, like, what's going on in Jacksonville, and I think they're primed for a great year there.
And I'll say this, like, that Jags-Chiefs game, like, I know the score wasn't didn't indicate as much as you wanted to with this, but, like, Jacksonville kind of played them a little tougher than I thought they were going to.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I thought they were going to roll over, but they got stomped. But, like, they played well enough in that game that I was like, oh,
they're a team.
Oh, you guys were half bad. Yeah,
they're a team.
Yeah. To go back to the Steelers real quick, I think because you asked what did I think about
over you on that, man.
And I think they're going to be the team this year that I think they're going to win like 8 or 9 games, maybe. Mm-hmm. I think they're the team that everybody's going to kind of not take seriously, and I think they're going to play a lot of teams tough.
Yeah,
I think Kenny Pickett's going to have a good year.
Yeah, he's definitely coming into his own.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure.
I mean, I think the Steelers are going to finish third in that division. Like, I have Baltimore finishing last.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a tough one, right?
I mean, history shows that the Steelers haven't finished back-to-back. They haven't had back-to-back seasons where they finished last since the 80s.
Yeah, and, like, Tomlin hasn't had a losing season in his tenure. Like, dude, the guy just keeps getting it done, right? Keeps getting it done. So, all right. Yep. Well, let's move on into the NFC now. I'll rattle through some of these, and then we can, I'll have you compare with what you've got there. But I have, coming out of the NFC, I've got Philly, Detroit, Seattle, New Orleans, and I have Dallas, the Bears, and then San Francisco. Okay, so
real quick question. I heard that, and I wanted to make sure, because you snuck the Chiefs past me the first time.
Yep.
And you kind of caught me off guard there. You don't think the Vikings are making the playoffs?
I don't think the Vikings make the playoffs this year. And this is a sad thing to say because Brian Flores is there, and I think Brian Flores needs the Vikings to make the playoffs for him to get another head coaching job. I just don't think this is the year it happens. And I know the windows with Cousins is closing, but I think next year they'll be there and they might make the playoffs next year, but I just don't think they have enough. They won too many close games last year. I don't see that happening this year. They won too many games where they were very, very close and down to the wire, and they lost some games that way too. I just don't see this being the year that it happens, and it pains me to say so, but I really think the Bears. I think Justin Fields is going to be a force this year. I think he's good. People are going to have to pay serious attention to him in order to be able to stop him this year, and I think the Bears are going to be better too. I like what Eberflus has been talking about there. He's very, he's awesome to listen to, man. He really is. Like former Colts guy, or he was with the Colts for a number of years and stuff. But like the way he's changing the mindset there, I really, really like it.
I with the Bears, what worries me with Justin Fields, because we're going on to year 3 of this with him, and I know he has DJ Moore to throw to now. He has a real receiver to throw to, and I think that'll be helpful for him. Mm-hmm. I just like what I watched of him last year. Like, and I know he beat the Patriots on a Monday night game. Yeah, he like absolutely just torched us with his legs. Like, I get it. I watched it firsthand. And the guy can use his legs. I don't love what I see from him in the pocket a lot.
Right.
I feel like he gets a little too gun shy and then just kind of takes off pretty quickly. And I think he caught a lot of teams off guard with that last year. Mm-hmm. I think defenses are going to be better prepared for that this year. Yeah. I think they're going to leave somebody at home, and I think that they're going to force him to throw from the pocket.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily know if he can do that.
Yeah.
He could. I could be completely wrong, but I don't think he has that in him. Mm-hmm. At least not yet. I think the Bears are. I think they're like 1 or 2 more years away. They need another couple good drafts, and I think they could. I think they'll be okay. But I don't think this is the year for them because I think actually weirdly with that division, I think Jordan Love's going to be decent for the Packers this year.
Oh, okay.
You're
not the only one that thinks that. There's other people that think it too, but like you're right. It kind of is a warm take, right? Like not everyone is picking him to come out of that division, and like he could surprise a lot of people.
I don't think the Packers are going to make the playoffs. I'm going to start with that.
Yep.
But I do think that they're going to be that team that is going to get eliminated in like week 17, week 18. I think they're going to be lingering.
Okay.
Because I think Rodgers polarized that locker room in such a way that I think that it's an addition by subtraction.
Right.
I think they're going to be more of a team this year. I think they're going to be. I think there's going to be better team chemistry, and I think that's going to bode well. And I think they're going to be like a 9-8 team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else do you have coming out of the NFC?
All right. So my NFC teams, I have. I'm just going to go just division by division.
Yeah.
I have Philly. I have the Giants. I have Detroit. I have Minnesota. I have New Orleans. I have New Orleans, and then I have San Francisco.
Okay.
I don't think Seattle's going to make it, and I know I didn't say Dallas, and I said that for a reason.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy came out and said he's going to call more plays this year, and that concerns me.
Yeah, that's a little.
That concerns me on a lot of levels.
Yeah, I hope that. I mean, Dallas has a great defense, right? And like,
Sure.
I remember a few years ago when Dak was actually not hurt and playing unbelievably well, and then he broke his ankle in the most grotesque way possible against the Giants, and like, he was an MVP that season, like, or at least headed there. And I know it was like, it wasn't the very beginning of the season. It was probably about like the first third of the way through that happened. And it changed the whole outlook for that team. It really did.
Yeah.
So I do like some of the picks you made there. New Orleans, I think they're going to be good this year, and I think they mop up that division pretty easily. Their schedule is like it's like liquid cheesecake.
The division they played so bad.
Yeah,
like
it is. So
yeah,
it will be interesting for some of the other teams, but it sucks that like a team comes out of that division and you're like, man, like you didn't really have to. You had 6 freebie games this year,
Yeah, I wanted to put Seattle in there. What worries me is I think that you got a career year from Geno Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're getting that again.
You think he comes back to earth? Okay. Yeah.
Well, you saw it in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
People figured out Geno Smith. And
I still think he played pretty well, man. Like I
sure,
think in that system, like he does well. They added another running back and then Jackson Smith and Jigba through the draft. I think Seattle's going to have a good chance this year to really push. But like that's why we're doing it, right? Difference of opinion on it. So
yeah, I think they have all the talent in the world. And if I remember correctly too, with the way the extension that he signed, like it's essentially like if he's kind of garbage this year. Like they're kind of not on the hook for anything. Yeah. They're not on the hook for much else after that. So like, it was concerning to me that they didn't try to trade up and take a quarterback.
Right. Yeah.
Because, like again, Gino was great for him last year, but that's not a long-term solution.
Yeah.
They were the team that like I was shocked that they didn't try to trade up for a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but. I think they'll be good this year. I think they're going to be like Green Bay. I think they're going to just miss the playoffs, though.
Right. And I know we both have San Fran coming out in that division and stuff. So, yeah. It's
yeah. With San Francisco, like I think a full year of Brock Purdy. Like I actually think he's going to do really well for them.
Yeah.
And Deebo Samuel and a full year of Christian McCaffrey.
Yep.
Man, I can't wait for that.
Yeah. And
assuming he stays healthy.
Yeah, hopefully Kittle stays healthy too. But Ayuk looked like he made some big strides last year, and like he's no longer being a distraction. He's really like, got his head on straight, and he's healthy too. Like he had a few games last year that were very, very good, while some of his teammates were out. So it's.
And I'll tell you what, like if he doesn't get hurt in the NFC title game. That game looks vastly different. And I think Philly still wins, but I don't think they blow them out. I think that becomes a dogfight.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we both have Philly. Like, we talked a little bit about, like, Philly when we talked about Jalen Hurts and stuff, but they're just a stacked team from top to bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
And I think, too, like, I think the Giants are legit again this year.
Yeah. With Brian Daboll, he's done stuff there. And they added Darren Waller. That's the piece they need. And let me just say, Darren Waller signing there, as soon as he signed, as soon as the ink was on that paper, he was immediately the Giants' best receiver that they had. He's the best catcher of the football they have on the team. You know, before that ink even dried. Like was Waller the guy that got traded by the Raiders, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, because his wife plays for the his wife plays for the Las Vegas Aces, and that sucks.
Like that,
man,
gone.
Yeah.
McDaniels was like, "Nah, I don't like that. You're gone." So very interesting, but. All right, let's get into who do you have coming out of the AFC and who's coming out of the NFC? Who's going to meet in the Super Bowl?
I hate saying this. I need you to know I hate saying this.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's the Jets this year. I really do.
Wow.
I really do.
Dude, are you all right? Do I need to call someone?
I don't love it. I think defensively, and I also know this. I've been watching Hard Knocks all season, all summer. So I'm buying it a little more than I should, and I get that. Full stop. But defensively, they're I think one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what wins championships, good defenses and being able to run the ball well.
I think that if you could just get I don't even think you need MVP Aaron Rodgers. I think you just need an above average Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah. So
I think so.
he could almost ride in like almost like Manning did in Denver there, not have to be something special, and they've got enough on defense and enough with the running game that he can get carried
I
through
think
it.
he's
So
because they almost made the playoffs with Mike White and Joe Flacco as their quarterbacks last year. Like,
and
and I think. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and do you have Philly coming out of the
I do.
NFC? Yeah. Who's winning that game?
Oh, the Jets are going to shit them bad. Let's be honest with you. But I think it's going to be the Eagles, and I know history says that most teams that make the Super Bowl the next year have an off year.
Yeah.
But their schedule lines up in a way that if you told me they were going to be 9-0, going into like week 10 or week 11, like I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that they lost a lot of starters, which I don't love, but I think they replaced all of those starters in a way that I think they're going to be good. I think it's going to be the Eagles this year.
Yeah, they lost a guard, they lost a few linebackers, lost some people in their secondary, but I think they've made enough. And I think it's going to put more pressure on Jalen Hurts in the offense, and I think they can get it done. So, yeah, I have Cincinnati and Philly making it, but I hope Cincinnati wins it, but I really do think that Philly's going to win it. So it's a tough thing because I want to see Joe Burrow get his Super Bowl win. I'm really a huge Burrow fan, but I think if Jalen Hurts gets back there, they figure out a way to get it done.
The Eagles this year have this weird. I'm going to throw a basketball reference in here real quick, so just stay with me for a minute. But the 2012-2013 Spurs lost the finals to the Miami Heat on that Ray Allen 3 that completely killed them in in Game 6, and then in Game 7 they just didn't have it.
Right.
And then they came back the next year, and that's all they talked about. They talked about all season, and they came back, and then they just ran roughshod through the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think that's what Philly has this year.
Yeah. They
were a heartbeat away from winning that Super Bowl, and they lost on a call that is a 50-50 call. Let's call it what it is. I personally don't think that was pass interference, but you get superstars get superstar calls.
Right.
They do.
That's a big thing. So. Yeah, and I'd love to see it get done this year for not only Jalen Hurts, but that whole team, right? There's a lot of great, likable players on that team. I'd love to see them have the opportunity to not only get back there, but kind of fix and right some wrongs of what went down last year. So I think it's going to be great.
The thing that worries me with my Jets pick, and this is why I hemmed and hawed about it, Robert Saleh's not a good coach. I'm going to say it. He's not a good head coach. He's not. And I know they have Nathaniel Hackett, who was an awful head coach last year. When you get fired halfway through your inaugural season, as a head coach,
something must be really wrong. Yeah.
You fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what worries me.
Yep.
And it also worries me because it's the Jets, and the Jets always let people down. And
it's true.
Yeah. But
it's awesome talking about
it's out there.
Super Bowl picks.
It's out there.
Yeah, it's out there now. It's out in the ether, so people can judge us on it, and we can be held accountable for it. What we're going to do is we're going to take
get roasted in the comments.
I know someone's going to, right? Probably Johnny.
Yeah.
He'll roast us and be mad about Dallas or whatever, but that's all right. So, hey, John, I picked Dallas to make the playoffs, so don't hate on me. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick little break, and we'll be back with part 3 in just a few minutes here. So take care, guys.